Welcome to Creator Weekly Live for November 10th, 2024. I'm Peggy Kay, and today there are updates for YouTube creators, for bloggers, Google Photos, Bluesky, Microsoft tools. There's a bunch, and so I hope you stick with me. Thank you for joining me live today. I hope you're having a good weekend. I'm sort of having a holiday confusion in my head because my neighbors put up all their Christmas decorations this weekend. So they have nice lights and something on their lawn. And I also went to a belated Halloween party last night. So I'm kind of like, is it Christmas? Is it Halloween? But really, it's Thanksgiving, but nobody puts up outdoor Thanksgiving decorations. So we're in the holiday season. I hope all of you are having a good weekend. And so I wanted to mention that if there's something you'd like me to talk about in our weekly Sunday live streams, I'm happy to hear about what you're interested in. The best way to ask is to either post a comment on the video, or if you subscribe to my newsletter, link in description, you can reply to one of the newsletter editions and I'll see that email. So let me know if there's something specific you're interested in, obviously related to tech and what's happening online. Craig says, the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland combines Halloween and Christmas. It does. I love the movie Nightmare Before Christmas. It's a lot of fun. If I lived near Disneyland, maybe I'd go check that out. So the first thing I wanted to mention today is that I have a new tutorial up. It's about adding a cover image to your Google Docs document to make it look more professional. You should check out my shorts if you're interested in learning about that. It's really easy to do. And so the first thing I'm going to talk about is a newish way to create videos from Google. You've heard about this before. So I'm talking about Google Vids. Google Vids is part of the whole Google Workspace suite. It was announced in April and it's been in testing mode and then only available to people who had a Gemini subscription, but now it's widely available. If you have a Google Workspace account, you should have this option. It's vids.google.com. If you have a personal Google account, then this option is only available if you subscribe to Google Workspace Labs. So let me put that up on the screen. With your personal Google account, you can subscribe to Workspace Labs. And this gives you access to a bunch of Gemini and other AI tools that are still in development. And you may not have access forever, but it's worth signing up to see what's out there, what Google's offering. So what makes Google Vids different? The big deal, of course, is that it's talking about Gemini and AI-powered tools. You can type up a description and create a draft video from a prompt. It can access your Google Drive files and use that information. You can use the AI tools to generate a voiceover with AI-generated voices. You can use it to remove the background of an image or generate an image. And it has this really neat feature, which is a read-along teleprompter. So if you've used a teleprompter to record video, what usually happens is you have the script, and then the teleprompter scrolls through it. The read-along teleprompter actually listens to what you're saying and highlights those words in the script as you're doing it. So it's not scrolling at a steady pace. Instead, it's going along as you talk. It's really cool. So those are the AI features, but it has a bunch of non-AI features as well. You can use the built-in recording studio to record yourself or create a screencast with a voiceover. You can use their templates. They have a whole library of stock images and video clips and music and sound effects and animations and things like that. So it's pretty useful. It's probably not going to create your next movie, but it can make a pretty decent video. And because it's part of Google Workspace, it has a familiar interface. If you've used Google Slides, it will look very familiar to you because it has a lot of the same imaging tools. And I'll note that Google Slides announced this week that they're having a bunch of new updated templates. So you have Google Vids and a revamped Google Slides, and it lets you have access to your files and images and video clips on Google Drive and in Google Photos. So it has this whole integration with the rest of your Google account. And on top of that, it's like the other Google Workspace tools like Google Docs and Google Slides and Google Sheets, where you can collaborate. You can share the document, give permission for people to view it or to edit it. So it's really a useful thing if you are in the Google ecosystem. Andrew asks, can it be used on Chromebooks? Absolutely. It's entirely browser-based. And I've been using it on my Chromebook, so I know it works. And it's worth giving it a try, especially if you make tutorial videos. I haven't actually used it to create a video for my channel, but I'm thinking about it. And I will note, there's something interesting Google wrote in the announcement where they said that the AI features may be limited in the future. So right now, if you have a regular Google Workspace business account, you should be able to access Vids with the Gemini features. But Google says that users will have full access to AI-powered features in Google Vids until at least December 31st, 2025. After that, they may apply usage limits, but they'll notify people. So I think it's interesting Google has to say this. And I think one of the things that I don't necessarily think about is that all these generative AI tools are actually costing something for these companies because it takes a huge amount of processor power and it takes a lot of electricity and all this. So it's not free for companies to share these. That's why they're charging for these AI tools. So try Google Vids now. You may not have the AI tools a year from now, but it's worth giving it a shot. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is an update for YouTube channels. This is sort of complex. This is for YouTube channels that are monetizing. What YouTube announced this week is the launch of brand partner video linking to Shorts. So if your YouTube channel is in the YouTube Partner Program and you have at least 4,000 subscribers and you go into brand deals, so you're making deals with companies, it was already possible for advertisers, brands, to reach out to creators and say, do you allow our Google Ads account to link to your video? That way the brand can use it in advertisements. This allows creators a little bit more control, where if you are in YouTube Studio on your mobile device and you've created shorts, You can go into the Shorts settings and say it's for paid promotion. And then you have the option to do this brand linking. It says, search for the YouTube channel affiliated with your brand partner, and upon upload, we'll send out link requests to connect this video to the relevant Google Ads account. This will allow the brand's Google Ads account to use this video and ads and access video metrics. You may remove this link at any time. So the two important things that this linking does is, first, it lets the brand run ads with this video. The second thing is it gives metrics about how well the video is doing. And that, of course, is important for some brand deals. So this update is for YouTube channels that are making brand deals. And so that wasn't really any good sort of general YouTube update this week, although there's been a bunch the past few weeks. I am going to shift gears a bit. Oh, and this is, I just have a quick demo to show what that looks like. If you're in YouTube Studio Mobile in your short, you enable the paid promotion label, then you see this brand partner option. And it has the details about what happens if you try and link to a brand partner. So I'm going to shift gears completely now and talk about something for web publishers. This is an update from Ghost. Ghost is an open source platform for blogging and newsletters. And what they are implementing in beta is recommendations. What are recommendations? Well, if you have ever subscribed to a newsletter, Substack, Beehive, they let the publisher of the newsletter recommend other publications. But those publications are only on the same platform. What this feature does is let the publisher recommend other publications, websites, on any platform. So it's much more open. So what Ghost is pointing out specifically in their announcement is that the dirty secret about recommendations is that most platforms have designed them primarily to boost their own growth. You can't recommend anything you like. You can only recommend other people who use the same product. So they want to give publishers the ability to benefit from cross-promotion without limits or hidden incentives. So they built this full recommendation system that's compatible with any platform, website, or publisher out there. So you can recommend whoever you like. So I think what's neat about this is that it's built on open standards. Ghost is an open source platform. They try to use open standards. What they're using here is something called Webmentions. And the idea is that if someone links and they have Webmentions enabled on their site, they basically get a notification that they've been linked. And if the site is configured so that there can be instant subscriptions, Ghost will show a subscribe button there. So Webmentions is very similar to the old pingbacks. If you had a blog, you might have seen this. Sometimes they showed on the blog post, oh, here's all the pingbacks. Of course, the big problem is that spammers take advantage of this. So Webmentions is a newer protocol. It has some features built in that's supposed to do verification and maybe reduce spam, hopefully. Now, how can you implement Webmentions on your own site so that if someone mentions your blog, you get notice of that? Well, the good thing is that there are a bunch of plugins if you use platforms like WordPress or Drupal. And then there are services that allow you to set this up. If you are using a platform like Blogger or Medium or Tumblr, Reddit, Mastodon, you can set up web mentions with a platform like Bridgie. So I set up Webmentions on my blog for using Bridgie, and I'll show that. It really was just a few clicks to link it, and then it gives you your own page that shows any web mentions. And I don't have any web mentions on my blog to show, so it doesn't show that. But I just tried it. It's easy to set up, and I feel like this is really a great thing for the open web, open social media, where there's cross connections between different platforms and people aren't locked into using a single platform. So you should check it out. As always, the links are in this week's blog post and newsletter. You can get a link to that in the video description. Now I am shifting gears again, sort of all over the place this week. I wanted to talk about social media. And one of the big things that happened, well, there's a lot of things that happened this week. I'm not going to talk about the election, but of course, that's actually relevant here, where there has been another surge of signups on Bluesky, which is a sort of Twitter alternative. This week, apparently, the community that has mostly been moving there are Swifties. So if you are a Swiftie, you should definitely check it out. Threads is Meta's version of Twitter text posting. They just announced that they now have 275 million monthly active users, and they are growing as well. But one of the things that came out with the election on Tuesday is that Threads is not good for breaking news. And part of the reason for that is that Threads defaults to this algorithmic For You feed. And so what you actually see if you're on the For You feed are a bunch of posts from any time. It could be a post from yesterday or 2 days ago. It could be a recent post. So if you're trying to follow quickly changing news, it's actually really terrible. And so Bluesky actually does that much better, where you can look at your following feed by default. You can create feeds of your own, specific feeds with just certain people or certain topics, and follow those chronologically. So it's much better for getting up-to-date information. And one of the things that Bluesky does very well is help people on board. Now, I will mention that Bluesky is much, much smaller than Threads or Twitter. I think at the latest update, it only had 13 million users. So not everybody is there. And you'll have to see if the communities you're interested in are active there. And that's what I wanted to suggest to you today, where there is an API for Threads. I'm sorry, there is an API for Threads, but I'm talking about the API for Bluesky. And it let a site set up a directory of starter packs. Starter packs are a really neat feature for Bluesky. The idea is that anyone can create a starter pack with people and feeds to follow, and then you can, give it a name. It could be My Favorite Posters, or it could be Scientists Who Study Whales, or there's all kinds of these starter packs. You can see in the screenshot that there were 3,333 starter packs when I took this screenshot a couple days ago. And Today, right now, live, there's already 4,500 starter packs. So people are active there. They're creating new starter packs. And this directory is great to get started. So you can do a search for what you're interested in and find a starter pack, look at it, and you can either look at and follow individuals in the starter pack, or you can follow everybody in the starter pack if it looks good. So one of those things that I wanted to note is that in this starter pack directory, it's not a super smart search. So if you're used to searching on Google and it finds all the related terms, this search doesn't do that. So if you're interested in books and authors, you might have to do several searches, do a search for the term books, do the search for the term authors, do the search for the term writers, or if there's a genre you're interested in, you could do a search for the term science fiction or romance. And then you can find starter packs with people recommended to do it. You can see who created the starter pack. So that can be important, right? That the person who created the starter pack is someone whose recommendations you would want to follow. So if you're interested in Bluesky, I recommend you start on the starter packs directory to find people to follow, because the following feed is the default there. So you're going to get less algorithmic recommendations. There are algorithmic feeds. I am subscribing to several different algorithmic feeds. There's no one algorithm. So to get started, it's good to find a bunch of people to follow. The other thing I wanted to mention is that Bluesky has a lot of scientists and writers, and there's even a starter pack for SEO, but it's really not a lot of influencers and brands and not a lot of business. So if you're interested in more business, this is probably not the best place, at least not right now. Those social networks haven't moved there. And of course, there's no reason for influencers to be there. There's no way to monetize this. So it's a little bit different from other platforms, but I think it's definitely worth checking out. I'm everywhere. I'm on Bluesky, I'm on Threads. Those are the two platforms I'm currently checking the most right now. I mostly post on Threads. You can, yeah, it's complicated. Threads does federate to the Fediverse. You can follow me on Mastodon. You can follow my Threads posts on Mastodon. But Bluesky uses a slightly different protocol. It's AT, I can't remember what that stands for. Instead of ActivityPub, there are services like Bridgie that let you follow across Bluesky, and ActivityPub like Mastodon and Threads. It's complicated. I feel like things are still kind of shaking out, but there's definitely a huge exodus from X. And it seems to come in waves as things happen there. So Craig asks, are those like communities? Not really. I think of a community as being a more enclosed space. This is still all public posting. I mean, you can have a community where people all post with each other, but it's publicly visible. So it's complicated, but I wouldn't call that, yeah, a community. On eBoard, that's Nina, says, I'm later on Bluesky and wait to advance. You should definitely check it out and start with some starter packs. But I think one thing that is different with Bluesky, for example, on X, there's a lot of people, including myself, who are just posting updates there. Look, here's what I posted elsewhere. Here's what I shared. Instead, Bluesky, and to a certain extent Threads as well, you really only benefit if you're there and active and engaging with other people. So it's a lot more work than just automatically sharing. So, and I want to welcome everybody who's in the live chat today. I see Bridget and Craig and Nina, and I'm scrolling back, and Andrew and Jolyn and Mark. Oh, there's all kinds of people here today. And Andrew, thank you so much for joining me. I just have two really quick updates to finish this off. The first is something I'm sharing because this really confused me. If you use Google Photos on your mobile device, they have changed the user interface. There is no longer a sharing page. Instead, there's what they're calling an Updates tab. This is that sort of notification bell up at the top. You can see in my screenshot I have on screen. If you click the notification bell, you see all your updates. That will show you a feed with updates to shared albums, conversations, memories, storage updates, and these are shown in chronological order. Now, I really kind of hate it because that's not how I use photos, but maybe I'll get used to it. If you want to find your conversations, so Photos has a way, you can send photos directly to people. That is a conversation. You can find those through your Photos settings and also through the three-dot menu on the Updates page. It's pretty well buried. I'm going to guess that not many people were using the conversations, which is why they've buried it, but it's really hard to find it now. So if you use Google Photos, click the bell to see the latest updates. The last thing I wanted to mention really briefly is that AI features are coming to classic Microsoft tools. So firstly, Microsoft Paint is getting AI tools for generative fill. That's where you type something and it creates an image right in your original image. And generative erase, which lets you remove something from your image. It already had photo image creation, but this is more integrated with what you're doing. And then Microsoft's Notepad, which is an antique app, it is getting Copilot AI to rephrase sentences, adjust the tone, modify the length of your content, so rewrite your content. These two tools, the updated Paint and Notepad is available to Windows insiders in the Canary and Dev channels on Windows 11. It will probably come to everyone eventually. AI is everywhere. They're sticking it in everywhere, whether you want it or not. All right, so those were this week's updates. Thank you so much for joining me live today. And be sure to subscribe to my newsletter or check out my blog. Links are in the video description. That way you can get all the tips and updates and news every week in much more detail than I talk about here. I hope you all join me again next Sunday. And actually, I'm in another live stream immediately after this over on the On eBoard channel. There will be an automatic redirect at the end. So thank you all. And I will see you next week.